The report said 27 employees completed HIPAA training. The audit log said a browser script clicked for them. That was the moment our compliance director stopped looking at the completion rate and started looking at my manager. Because the training system had done exactly what he asked. It had made the work disappear. Unfortunately for him, it had also made the responsibility visible. My name is Aaron. I was 33, and I worked in IT operations for a medical software company that sold scheduling and billing tools to small clinics. We were not a hospital. We were not touching patients in exam rooms. But our systems handled protected health information every day. Names, appointment details, insurance codes, billing notes, provider messages, and all the quiet data people do not think about until the wrong person sees it. That meant HIPAA was not a decoration for us. It was not a quiz you clicked through while eating lunch. It was part of how we proved, to clients and auditors, that the people with access to sensitive systems had been trained on what they could and could not do. I worked on the boring side of that world. Account access, logs, vendor portals, user provisioning, training reports, exception lists, and the kind of spreadsheet that makes everyone else suddenly remember another meeting. I liked boring. Boring keeps companies out of court. There is a certain kind of person who hears that and thinks it means you are scared of progress. That was never true. I liked automation because it made good rules repeatable. A clean access review script can catch a terminated user before a human forgets. A scheduled report can tell compliance exactly which accounts have not logged in for 90 days. A ticket template can make sure every production change has a requester, an approver, a rollback plan, and a date. Good automation does not erase responsibility. It makes responsibility easier to trace. That was the line Trevor never understood. Our annual HIPAA training lived inside a learning management system from a vendor called Northbridge Learning. Every employee had to complete the course by the end of May. The system tracked launch time, slide progress, quiz answers, completion status, IP address, and a few activity markers that almost nobody looked at unless something went wrong. I looked at those markers. That was my job. Before my new manager arrived, the process was simple. Compliance assigned the course. Department leads reminded their teams. I pulled weekly completion reports. Anyone who missed the deadline lost access to production data until they completed it. Nobody loved it. Everyone understood it. Then Trevor became my manager. Trevor was not stupid. That is important. Stupid people are easier to survive because everyone knows to check their work. Trevor was worse. He was just smart enough to sound modern in front of executives and just careless enough to treat every warning as fear of change. He joined us in March with a title that had the word transformation in it. His first team meeting had 14 slides. 7 of them mentioned AI. One said, "Automate the boring. Elevate the human." I remember that line because he said it twice and looked directly at me both times. At first, I was not against it. I use automation. I write scripts. I have saved hours of manual work by turning repeated tasks into jobs that run the same way every time. I do not think a human should spend a Friday afternoon clicking export buttons if a scheduled report can do it safely. But safe was the word Trevor skipped. He wanted every sprint to include an AI win. Not a useful automation. Not a tested process improvement. A win he could put in a slide. At Monday stand-up, he started asking, "Where did we use AI this week?" At sprint planning, he asked, "What can we stop doing manually?" In one-on-ones, he asked people to identify tasks that could be made autonomous. The first few examples were harmless. A script that summarized old ticket comments before escalation. A draft generator for internal knowledge base articles. A little helper that turned messy meeting notes into action items. Then he got hungry. He wanted bigger numbers. He wanted hours saved. He wanted dashboards. The pressure became official on April 9th, when he sent an email to the whole IT operations team. By then, the AI push had already made people weird. One admin used a chatbot to draft a password reset article and forgot to remove a fake policy name from the middle. A junior analyst asked it to summarize an access request and got the department wrong. Someone else used it to write an outage update that sounded polished but left out the actual affected system. None of those incidents were disasters. They were small. But small errors in IT have a way of becoming habits if management rewards the wrong part. Trevor rewarded speed. Every Friday, he posted a little scoreboard in the team channel. Tickets summarized with AI. Minutes saved. Drafts generated. Manual steps reduced. People started submitting anything that looked like a number. One person claimed 30 minutes saved because AI wrote a meeting agenda. Another claimed 2 hours saved because it rewrote a vendor email. Trevor loved all of it. He would reply with rocket emojis and phrases like, "This is the culture shift." I kept waiting for someone above him to ask whether the numbers were real. No one did. So the numbers got bolder. Subject line, Q2 AI automation push. The body said, "I want everyone to get creative with automating with AI. If a process involves repetitive reading, clicking, summarizing, routing, reporting, or training, assume there is an automation opportunity until proven otherwise." Training. That word sat in the middle of the sentence like a lit match. I replied privately, "Trevor, for routine internal content this is fine, but compliance training should be excluded. HIPAA completion is an attestation record, not just a workflow completion." He answered 7 minutes later. "Let's not overcomplicate this. I am asking for ideas, not legal memos." That was the first receipt. I saved the email. 2 days later, he brought it up during stand-up. He said, "Aaron raised a concern about training automation, which is good. We should always discuss risk. But I do not want risk language to become an excuse for doing things the old way." That was his style. He complimented the warning, then framed it as resistance. I said, "HIPAA training completion is used in audits. If we automate the completion behavior, the log may show completion without human review." He smiled like I had just proven his point. "Then build a proof of concept. Show us the boundary instead of describing it." I said, "You want a demo showing that the LMS can be automated?" He said, "Yes. Get creative. Use AI. Use scripting. I want to see what is possible." I asked, "Including the HIPAA course?" He said, "That is the process we are discussing." I said, "Can you put that in the sprint ticket?" The room got quiet in that tiny way rooms get quiet when people realize a conversation has turned into a record. Trevor said, "Sure." 5 minutes later, the ticket appeared. Title, AI-Assisted Automation Demo, Compliance Training Workflow. Description, create proof of concept for automating repetitive LMS course activity using AI-assisted scripting. Include launch, navigation, quiz handling where possible, and completion reporting. Goal, identify potential time savings for mandatory training tasks. Assignee, me. Reporter, Trevor. There it was. The fatal mistake was not that he wanted a demo. A demo can be useful. The fatal mistake was that he wanted the demo to chase completion. Completion reporting. That phrase became the hinge. I commented on the ticket. Noting risk, any automation that launches, navigates, or completes mandatory compliance training may create inaccurate attestation records. I will build this as a controlled proof of risk, not as a production process. Trevor reacted with a thumbs up. Some people should not be allowed near emojis. I also sent a short message to Marissa, our compliance director. I did not ask her to intervene. That would have turned the whole thing into a political fight before I had evidence. I only wrote, "Heads up, IT has been asked to create an automation demo around LMS training workflow. I am documenting this as proof of risk, not production use." She replied, "Thank you. Keep it controlled. Training completion needs human attestation." I saved that too. That message mattered for 2 reasons. First, it proved I had not gone rogue. Second, it reminded me of the exact word the whole case would eventually turn on. Attestation. Not completion. Attestation. A completion record says a box changed status. An attestation says a person is willing to stand behind what the box means. I spent the next 2 days building the demo exactly inside the sandbox we had access to. I did not touch anyone else's real training account. I used a test user assigned to our IT lab group. I did not bypass authentication. I did not change grades. I did not alter data. I used Puppeteer to open the browser, log in as the test user, launch the HIPAA course, wait for slide elements, click the next button, answer sample quiz questions pulled from a local test file, and submit. I also made the script noisy on purpose. Every action logged to a local file. Launch course. Click next. Click next. Answer question 1. Submit. Completion page reached. I added comments everywhere. This demonstrates risk. Do not use for actual employee training. Completion record does not prove human review. I even named the folder proof of risk, because I did not want anyone later calling it a productivity tool. The demo worked faster than I expected. The test course took a human about 18 to 25 minutes if they actually read it. My script reached completion in 4 minutes and 12 seconds with the default wait times. Then I ran it again with shorter waits. 2 minutes and 49 seconds. The LMS accepted it. Northbridge recorded the test user as completed. That was the bad news. I ran it 6 more times because one result can be dismissed. With the normal delay setting, the course completed between 4 minutes and 10 seconds and 4 minutes and 18 seconds. With shorter waits, it completed in under 3 minutes every time. The quiz score was always 100% because the demo file already knew which answer to choose. That was not intelligence. That was pattern replay. The system did not know the difference. Northbridge did not pop up a warning that said, "This looks fake." It did not ask the user to slow down. It did not flag the identical timing. It just wrote completed to the report. Completed. That one word was so clean it was dangerous. I exported the raw activity CSV and opened it beside a normal employee record from the previous year, with the employee name removed. The difference was obvious. The human record had pauses. A 6-minute gap after one section. A quiz retry. A back button. A 28-minute total session. Messy, normal, human. The script record looked like a metronome. Next. 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 Submit. If someone looked only at the dashboard, the script was a perfect learner. If someone looked at the audit trail, it was a machine wearing a badge. The good news was that the activity markers looked strange if anyone bothered to look. Every slide had nearly identical time gaps. The quiz answers appeared too quickly. The IP was the same, the browser signature was the same, the movement pattern was too regular. In other words, the completion report said trained. The activity log said clicked. I put all of that into the ticket. I attached the local log, the LMS completion screenshot, and a short note. Result: LMS completion can be triggered by browser automation. This should not be used for mandatory compliance training. Recommendation: exclude compliance courses from AI automation goals and review whether Northbridge can flag abnormal completion timing. That should have ended it. It did not. Trevor changed the ticket label from risk to efficiency. I saw it because our project board sent notifications for label changes. Old label, compliance risk. New label, AI efficiency. It was such a small edit. 2 clicks, maybe. But it told me exactly what he wanted the story to become. He did not want a warning. He wanted a win. I changed nothing back. That would have started a label war, and label wars are where evidence goes to die. Instead, I added another comment. Leaving original risk note above. The demo demonstrates that the LMS will record completion even when course progress is driven by automation. Any future discussion should include compliance before this is used outside the test user. Trevor did not reply. Trevor saw the completion screenshot and ignored the warning paragraph underneath it. At the next Scrum review, he pulled up the ticket on the shared screen. "This is exactly the kind of thinking I want," he said. My stomach dropped. He said, "Aaron proved we can reduce a 20-minute training task to under 5 minutes. I said, "That is not what I proved." He kept going. Now, obviously, we need to be careful about compliance. But the point is that AI-assisted automation can remove friction from required workflows. I said, "The point is that it can create false records." He laughed lightly. "We are not deploying it tomorrow." I said, "Then please say that in the review notes." He looked annoyed for the first time. Aaron, we are celebrating a demo. I said, it is a risk demo. He said, fine. Risk demo. Still a useful win. The Scrum Master typed exactly that. AI-assisted LMS automation risk demo completed. Potential time savings identified. Compliance review needed before further use. That note saved me later. Because Trevor had just turned my warning into a public team record. After the meeting, 2 coworkers messaged me privately. One wrote, are we actually going to automate training? I wrote back, do not use my demo for real training. The other wrote, Trevor seems really excited about this. I wrote back, that is why I put the risk note in the ticket. I wish I could say everyone took the warning seriously. They did not. Most people were busy. Some were amused. A few thought it was ridiculous that anyone cared how a mandatory video got completed as long as the certificate printed at the end. That attitude is exactly how companies get bad records. Not through movie villain schemes. Through tired people accepting a shortcut because the system lets them. The next week, finance sent a question about the Northbridge invoice. Northbridge charged by active learner seat and by completed compliance module. The numbers did not look huge, but finance was doing their normal monthly check and noticed test completions under the IT lab group. They asked whether the charges were valid. I replied that the completion was from an approved proof of risk demo requested in ticket ITOPS 4182 and should be treated as test activity, not employee training. I copied Trevor. He replied only to me. Why did you copy finance on the ticket number? I wrote back, because they asked whether the charge was valid. He answered, use judgment. We do not need every experiment to become a paper trail. I stared at that sentence for a while. Then I saved it too. We do not need every experiment to become a paper trail. No, Trevor. You need the right experiments to not become a paper trail. This was not one of them. I forwarded that message to myself and added it to the same folder. The folder had 4 subfolders by then. Manager direction. Demo evidence. Billing. Compliance notice. It sounds dramatic when I list it now. At the time, it felt like housekeeping. Every time someone said a sentence that could become important later, I put it where I could find it. That is what paper trails are. Not one magic document. 100 small things refusing to disappear. The actual explosion happened 10 days later. Our compliance director, Marissa, was preparing evidence for a client security review. One of our larger clinic groups wanted proof that all employees with production access had completed annual HIPAA training. Normal request. Normal process. Marissa pulled the completion report from Northbridge and noticed something odd. 27 employees had completed the course within a narrow 2-hour window after Trevor's AI automation push. The times were not identical, but they were weirdly neat. Short sessions. Clean progress. Low quiz time. No pauses. No restarts. Most people do not complete training like that. People get coffee. They answer messages. They leave the tab open. They fail a quiz question and reread a section. Human data is messy. This data looked polished. Marissa asked me for raw activity logs. I gave them to her. Then she asked the question that made the room turn cold. Did everyone actually take the training? I said, I can verify the LMS recorded completion. I cannot verify human review for every record without checking how the sessions were completed. She said, why would that be in question? I looked at Trevor. Trevor said, we ran some automation experiments, but nothing production. Marissa said, define production. He said, no one used a tool to avoid training. I said, the proof of concept demonstrated that the LMS can mark completion through browser automation. The test user definitely completed by script. I do not know whether anyone copied the script or used the same method later. Trevor turned toward me like I had slapped him. Why would you say that? I said, because the completion pattern is abnormal and the risk was documented in the ticket. Marissa asked for the ticket. I sent it. All of it. The original email. The sprint ticket. My risk comment. The demo notes. The Scrum review note. The finance email. Trevor's message about not needing every experiment to become a paper trail. The meeting got very quiet. Marissa read for maybe 3 minutes without speaking. Trevor tried to fill the silence. He said, "This is being taken out of context." Erin was asked to explore automation. She built a demo. That does not mean we approved people skipping training. Marissa said, "The issue is not whether people skipped training on purpose. The issue is whether we can rely on the completion report." That was the whole story. Not AI. Not innovation. Reliance. Could the company rely on the record? Trevor had treated the LMS as a checkbox machine. Marissa treated it as evidence. Evidence has to be clean. The review expanded that afternoon. We pulled completion timing for every employee in the suspicious group. We checked browser signatures. We checked IP addresses. We checked whether course windows were open long enough to play required videos. We checked whether quiz answers were submitted faster than a human could read the questions. Some records were fine. Some were not. The pattern was not subtle once we knew what to look for. A normal training record had uneven time. Someone spent 4 minutes on privacy basics, 12 minutes on breach reporting, 2 minutes on the final attestation screen, then maybe another minute on the quiz. The suspicious records moved like they were on rails. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Quiz submitted. Completion. One user had finished the entire course in 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Another had finished in 3 minutes and 6 seconds. The same browser. The same internal network range. The same neat little rhythm. Marissa asked, "Is it possible a person did this manually?" I said, "Possible? Maybe. Reliable enough to attest? No." That was the answer she needed. Compliance is not about what you can imagine. It is about what you can defend when a client, regulator, attorney, or insurer asks why you trusted a record. We could not defend those records. 3 employees admitted they had used an internal script someone shared in a private chat because they thought it was approved. One said, "Trevor said we were supposed to automate repetitive training." That sentence did damage. Not because the employee was trying to hurt him. Because they were trying to explain why they thought it was allowed. Marissa suspended the report. Everyone in the suspicious group had to retake HIPAA training live, with the automated tools disabled and timing flags reviewed. Northbridge was asked to explain why abnormal sessions were not flagged. Finance reversed the test completion charges and moved the real completions to a corrected billing batch. The retake was not optional. Production access for those employees stayed active only because compliance agreed to a 48-hour correction window. Everyone on the list had to complete the course again, manually, and the completion report had to include a new export with normal timing markers. People complained. Of course they did. One developer said, "This is a waste of time. I already know not to leak patient data." Marissa answered, "Then the training should be easy." That sentence moved through the company faster than the original AI demo. Trevor did not like that either. He wanted the story to be about innovation being misunderstood. Marissa made it about evidence being unusable. That was a much harder story for him to spin. The client security review did not wait politely while we cleaned it up. Their questionnaire had a simple line item. Provide evidence that personnel with access to protected health information completed annual HIPAA training. Normally, Marissa would attach the Northbridge completion report and move on. This time, she could not. The first report had bad data. The corrected report was not ready. The client wanted an answer by Friday because their own compliance team had a renewal meeting the following week. So the issue climbed. Our CTO joined a call with Marissa, Trevor, me, and one person from legal. Nobody yelled. That somehow made it worse. Legal asked one question. Can we state that all covered personnel completed training based on the original report? Marissa said, no. Then legal asked, can we state that the original report contained completion records that may not reflect human completion? The room went silent. Trevor said, I do not think we should phrase it that way. Marissa said, that is what happened. I said nothing. There are moments when silence is not weakness. It is letting the record sit on the table where everyone can see it. The final client response was careful. It said a reporting irregularity had been identified during internal review, affected users were completing verified retraining, and corrected evidence would be provided after validation. That was not a breach notice. It was not a disaster. But it was embarrassing, and it was preventable. The client accepted the corrected report 3 days later. They did not leave. They did not sue. Nobody went to prison. Real life is usually less dramatic than bad decisions deserve. But the next quarterly business review included a section called Training Evidence Controls. Trevor was not invited to present it. I was. I showed 3 screenshots. The normal human training pattern. The script training pattern. The new abnormal timing flag Northbridge enabled after the review. Then I said, automation is welcome when it improves evidence. It is not welcome when it manufactures it. That sentence made it into the meeting notes. Not because it was clever. Because it was the only sentence executives could repeat without admitting how close they had come to sending a dirty report to a client. Trevor lost approval authority over compliance-related workflows. That was the official phrase. Lost approval authority. It sounds dry until you understand what it means inside a company. It meant he could still talk about AI. He could still make slides. He could still ask for automation ideas. But any workflow touching training, access, audit evidence, client security review, or regulated data had to be approved by compliance and security before his team touched it. His shortcut had created a gate with his name on it. The executive follow-up was worse for him than the retraining. Our CTO asked for a 1-page summary of what happened. Trevor drafted the first version and called the issue an overzealous proof of concept. Marissa rejected that phrase. The final version said, a management-directed automation demo demonstrated that mandatory training completion records could be generated without sufficient evidence of human review. Controls have been updated to prevent automation from substituting for required attestation. Management-directed. Without sufficient evidence of human review. Required attestation. Every word had weight. None of them were mine. That was the beautiful part. By the time the official summary came out, I did not have to argue. The record had learned to speak in compliance language. The AI automation OKR changed too. The old version said, reduce manual effort through AI-assisted automation. The new version said, reduce manual effort where automation does not replace required human review, attestation, or professional judgment. That extra sentence was my favorite part. It was not dramatic. It did not name Trevor. It just made his mistake permanent. 2 weeks later, he called me into a one-on-one and said he felt blindsided. I said, by which part? He said, you made it sound like I ordered people to cheat training. I said, I forwarded the ticket you wrote. He said, you knew what I meant. I said, compliance does not audit what you meant. It audits what you approved. He tried one more angle. You could have protected the team. I said, I did. I warned the team not to use it. You could have protected me. I said, I warned you first. He had no clean place to put the blame after that. Not because I was clever. Because every exit had an email in front of it. After that, Trevor treated me like a locked cabinet. Polite. Necessary. Annoying. He stopped asking me for AI wins and stand-up. He still asked the team, but when my turn came, he moved quickly to access reviews, vendor tickets, or whatever other work did not make him remember Northbridge. That was fine with me. I did not need him to like me. I needed him to stop turning regulated records into a stage prop. He looked away. That was the end of the conversation. I still use AI at work. I use it to draft internal summaries. I use it to clean up ticket language. I use it to brainstorm checks I might have missed. I do not let it certify that a human understood a privacy rule, and I do not let a manager turn a warning into a slide without saving the slide. The folder is still in my drive. Automation is not attestation. It has the email, the ticket, the LMS log, the invoice question, and the retraining notice. The system said the training was complete. The audit asked who completed it. That was one workplace where AI did exactly what management asked and exposed the part they refused to own. The next story comes from another woman, another IT team, and a manager who treated an AI answer like it outranked a benchmark. Her name was Maya. She was a systems engineer on an on-prem infrastructure team, and her manager had discovered AI 6 months late with the confidence of someone who thought late discovery made him a profit. Their team managed storage, backups, virtual machines, and a few old internal tools nobody wanted to touch until they broke. Maya's rule was simple. If AI suggested something harmless, she treated it like a junior coworker offering an idea. If AI suggested something that would touch production infrastructure, she treated it like a stranger in a parking lot giving medical advice. Maybe interesting. Not authority. Maya did not hate AI either. She used it sometimes for command examples or first-pass documentation. But she always checked the actual manual, because infrastructure is not impressed by confident sentences. Her manager, Bill, skipped that second step. One Monday morning, a backup job started running too slowly after a routine software update. The team needed to figure out whether the issue was compression, network throughput, or a change in how the job scanned file metadata. The backup window mattered because it ran overnight before the finance team came online. If the job finished by 5:30 a.m., nobody cared. If it ran past 7 o'clock, it slowed down a reporting database that executives loved to open while pretending not to micromanage. That Monday, the job was still running at 8:12. So there was pressure. Pressure makes bad answers look useful. Maya suggested running a controlled benchmark with 3 configurations. Bill said, "I already asked AI." Then he pasted a 1,000-word answer into the team chat. The answer sounded perfect if you did not know the tool. It recommended a command flag that looked real, explained why it would bypass redundant metadata checks, and predicted a major speed improvement. It also cited a documentation page that almost existed. The URL structure looked right. The product name was right. The version number was close. But the page itself returned a 404. Maya posted the actual vendor link. Bill ignored it. Maya read it twice. The flag did not exist in their version. She wrote, "That flag is not in the vendor docs for our build." Bill replied, "Ask AI to explain it." So she did. The AI explained the non-existent flag in more detail. That was not proof. That was theater. Maya asked Bill if he wanted her to test the recommended command exactly as written. He said, "Yes. Let's stop second-guessing the tool." She wrote, "Confirming you want the AI recommendation tested against the documented baseline." He replied, "Confirmed." Maya took one more step before running anything. She created a test dataset with the same file count, folder depth, and average file size as the production job, but no real company data. Then she wrote down the test plan in the incident channel. Baseline command. Documented vendor tuning. AI recommendation as written. Modified AI recommendation if the flag failed. Measure runtime, error output, and resource usage. That mattered because Bill could not later claim she had chosen the worst possible setup. The plan was public before the results existed. She ran the benchmark in a test environment. Baseline job. Documented tuning option. AI recommended command. The AI command failed first because the flag was not recognized. The exact error was painfully clean. Unknown option. Maya screenshot it, copied the text output, and linked the vendor documentation showing the valid flags for their build. Bill wrote, "Maybe the docs are outdated." Maya wrote, "The binary is current for our build, and the command help output also does not list the flag." Then she pasted the local help output. Again, no speech. Just the tool saying no. Bill told her to remove the flag and keep the rest of the recommendation. She did. That version ran 2 times slower than the baseline. Not 2%. Not a little worse. 2.2 times slower. Maya put the results in a table with 3 columns: command, source, result. The documented option improved performance by 18%. The AI option failed with invalid flag. The modified AI option ran 2 times slower. She also included CPU load and read throughput, because runtime alone can hide why something failed. The modified AI version hammered metadata reads in exactly the way that vendor documentation warned against. That was the part Maya liked best. The real manual had already answered the question. The AI had written around it. Then she posted the table in the incident channel. Bill responded privately. Did you have to put the AI result in the public channel? Maya wrote back, the recommendation was posted in the public channel, and the incident notes need the tested result. He did not answer. The post-incident review was short. Short did not mean painless. Bill tried to frame the issue as AI needs better prompting. Maya said, the prompt was not the control. The benchmark was the control. The storage lead asked whether the team had almost applied the AI command to production. Bill said, we were discussing options. Maya said, that is why I asked for written confirmation before testing it. She did not sound angry. That made it worse for him. Anger can be dismissed as attitude. Tables are harder. The final note said, AI-generated technical recommendations must be verified against vendor documentation and benchmarked before operational use. Again, nobody made a speech. Nobody banned AI. Nobody pretended humans never make mistakes. They just added the sentence Bill had skipped. Verify before use. Maya saved the benchmark report, the invalid flag error, and the incident note. 3 days later, Bill stopped pasting raw AI answers into the incident channel. He still used the tool. Everyone knew it. But now his messages had links to actual documentation, test commands, and words like unverified suggestion instead of AI says. That was the point. The team also changed the incident template. Before, the template had a section called Proposed Fix. After the review, it had 2 sections. Proposed Fix. Evidence tested. That second line did more than any argument Maya could have made. It forced every recommendation to bring proof with it. A generated answer could still appear in the first box, but it could not survive into production unless the second box had logs, documentation, test output, or a benchmark. Bill hated the new template. He called it extra process. The storage lead called it memory. That was the better word. Process is what people complain about when nothing is broken. Memory is what keeps the same shortcut from breaking things twice. Nobody needed him to become anti-AI. They needed him to stop treating a generated paragraph like a source of truth. The AI had not been punished. It could not be. The only person in the room who could own the answer was the person who tried to use it as authority. That is the part managers keep missing. AI can write the sentence. The log still records who trusted it.